All right, just a little bit more about the trade plan. We're almost done with it, but you gotta stick with me because it is by far the most important part of trading. All right, so a little bit more about the mindset itself. It is absolutely necessary that when you are placing a trade or practicing or doing anything, that you have no distractions. You have an absolutely clear mind. Um, One of the things that's really common is that a lot of people want to rush into a trade, or they if you are ever feeling like you're picking up your laptop, you're jumping on the computer to you have to place a trade right now. That's probably a sign that you shouldn't do it. You need to be able to get yourself back to this clear mindset where you're able to concentrate and put the effort into what you're doing, even if it means that you're sitting down and you are in a hurry, but you're saying, no, this is the right move, I'm confident of it. That's fine. It's when you're feeling antsy, you're feeling jittery trying to rush into something. And I see it all the time with like the risk management calculator, and I do this to myself. So I use that risk management tool that I had in a previous video, and I find myself sometimes not resorting to that. And every time I go to place a trade, because I'm like, I don't want to fill that out right now, I just want to make this trade, I'll actually stop. That is a sign that I am rushing into whatever I'm doing. If you don't have the time to fill out your trade log or to fill out your risk management calculator, you are going too fast. You're not giving it the thought that it requires. At the end of the day, we are putting money on the line. It's not something that you should be able to just snap your fingers and do. There needs to be some effort involved, and it's really easy to lose touch of that. And so that's something that you genuinely have to keep up with on yourself, just knowing what your tolerance is there. But having the right mindset is absolutely mandatory. And stepping further than that, it's really common. I see it all the time with FOMO. And so everybody has, a fear of missing out, if you're not familiar with that acronym, and just letting their emotions get the best of them in the market. You see, everything in the market is positive 10% for the day, and you feel like everybody else is making money and you're not. And you just have to be okay with that. That is fine. There's so many opportunities out there. If anything, take that 10% run and start looking at the market and going, well, there's got to be more out here. Let me find the good ones. Not everything moves at once. And so another part of that clear mindset kind of emotion control is that this is a mentorship group. If you guys are at any point feeling like you're placing a trade or doing that, message me, message the group, say, hey, this is what I'm looking at. What do you think? Is this a bad idea? Am I rushing into it? This is how I'm feeling. That's what I'm there for. I'm there to help with that. Truthfully, I have to do that to myself, but I've gotten really good at doing that at this point. And that was one of the most costly mistakes of me learning how to trade. And so I'm here to help you guys with it, but you need to be honest with yourself and accept that you're feeling those ways when you go to place those trades. You're seeing the market do a certain thing. Going off of that, you for the new people in the group especially, but even the experienced people, and I still do this myself, you have to set aside time to learn. If you live with family, friends, you have kids, whatever it is, you have a roommate, if you just tell them, hey, I need 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, whatever you can commit, it depends on how seriously you can take it. Um, you need, an hour of quiet time a day. They're going to respect that because ultimately what you're doing here is not different than a job. You're trying to change your future, you're trying to earn a wage, and it does require time. At the end of the day, it requires a lot less time than college does. It's much less of a commitment than that. And so it's really should not be difficult to set aside the time to do this the correct way. And you absolutely have to practice. I am doing this all the time. At the end of the day, every time I am scanning the market to try to find something or, find my next trade, that's just practice. I'm just doing it in real time. It's absolutely critical that you have to go back and practice. Use the replay button on TradingView. We'll go through that later as well. And find setups that you think you would have entered. See how they played out. Learn from those things. After enough times of doing that, it will become second nature where you actually you don't need to start trading every coin. Like I can flip through quite a few coins pretty quickly and just decide if it's worth me analyzing or not. You will get there, but you need the practice first. And then beyond that, you ultimately have to find a setup that works for you, some kind of a strategy. We cover a lot in the group. I would say I probably use three to four, maybe different strategies. Kind of depends on the market conditions, depends on what the market gives you. But I trade with people that use strategies that are wildly different than mine. Um, they are successful, but I have tried using their strategy and it does not work for me. My goal from this is that I am able to mentor you guys into what I am using, what works for me. And then as a group, I give you the information you need to continue learning whatever you need to learn to find a better strategy for yourself. And then you share that with the group. And we have every strategy in one. It's really just up to you. If you find a strategy that does not work for you, kick it to the side. It's not worth your time, or reach out. Let me know why it's not working, and I'll work with you to figure out, are we missing something? Did I not explain it well? Is it not covered completely? The group is about learning together. Moving into, actually making some of your trades. And so one thing I will always push is trade for your percent gain, not for a dollar value. We push people that when you're new or beginner, you should always risk a very small amount. And so you shouldn't be pushing yourself for a dollar value. You should be pushing yourself for a percent gain from a position. And that allows you to put small amounts of money onto a position and still see how it played out at the end. As humans, we have a desire to not lose money. And so I really do push people to not paper trade. And so paper trading is when you're actually not using any actual fiat currency. You're just, hypothetically trading. I actually push people to not do that, because even when you put a small amount of money on a trade, it's enough to keep you invested. You actually feel like it's part of what you're doing, even if you have, a huge portfolio and it's a small amount of cash. The benefit to that is that if it's a small amount and you're risking a little amount, you're willing to see how it plays out. Even if it goes terribly wrong, you actually see that outcome. And so I highly recommend sticking with that percent gain. Don't look at the dollar value, because what's going to happen is that as your portfolio grows, your trade plan and your percent gains don't change. You just keep gaining more portfolio, which we talked about earlier. That compound interest just keeps growing. And in the previous video, I mentioned about a risk management calculator. I've also made a trade log for everybody to use, as well as myself. It's what I use. And so what it focuses on is actual percent changes. And the goal from that is that you can see what trades worked for you, what trades didn't work for you, what setups they were. And the goal is to use it to learn. We are really in a field that is like, things can go bad and you can lose tons of setups. At the end of the day, I don't win all of my setups. You're not supposed to. If you do, one, you're either from the future or you're just lying. And so really one of the things that I like to push for is really the motto of you either win or you learn. If a trade went against you, like what went wrong? Was it a stop loss issue? Was it a bad setup? Did you not see something? There's things to learn from every single loss. And from every single win, you have earnings. And so between the trade log and risk management, those are by far the two biggest tools to keeping you moving forward in the field. And I will go through the trade log template in a video really soon. It might even be right after this. I'm not sure. And so to kind of go through what that mindset would actually do for you, how that like compounding interest actually would work in this case. I always say focus on the percent gains, not the dollar value. And so what I built out is essentially a calculator of like how that growth would go if you changed nothing about your strategy. And so, what we're putting in is essentially the initial amount that you're working with. Let's say it's, $2,500. That's a pretty modest portfolio amount. And if you have a lower amount than that, that's totally fine. I started with less than that. And, a percent growth per month, I don't know. I actually want to take a pause here. And I want you to think about what sounds realistic to you. Like, pause the video right now if you have to, and actually think about, hey, what's a number that actually seems realistic that would be possible? And so with that, I'm going to put in that, let's say that your portfolio growth is 10% a year. If you follow any traders or you follow anybody else, you probably see that as a really, really modest number, or at least, maybe compared to your goals. We'll get into that in a second. But this is pretty realistic. And so what this actually shows is that, like, in 1 year's time, you have already, 3x'd your initial balance by just increasing your portfolio 10% a month. And 10% a month can be done in one trade a month. That can be done in a trade a week. That can be done in, 3 trades per week. It really only takes one to make that happen. And so that just being strategic and just setting your goals right is all you need to do. Don't worry about the dollar value at the end, because you're starting with $2,500. You want to be a millionaire. It's like, it will come. Just look at the near road. Keep the vision in mind, because that is your goal, but stick to the road. Know that it leads there. And so what we can see is that in 1 year, you've already 3x'd. And if you know anything about, how crypto works and how, Bitcoin, like, bull runs go, 3x in 1 year, that's outpacing every crypto. I mean, Bitcoin does, a 3x every halving. So Bitcoin does a 3x, every what? 3 to 4 years or so. And so at this 10%, you're already outpacing that. Fast forward, let's go 4 years from now. Let's say your initial investment is 2,500. You keep a track of 10% a year, and we go 4 years ahead in time. You've got $240,000. And again, this growth just gets crazier. I mean, this would mean that, let's say you stuck with this. Again, I'm going to reiterate it again. An initial balance of $2,500, 10% growth per month. In 4 years, your monthly salary becomes $24,000 a month. Like, that's the kind of growth that we're looking for here. And so no matter what you're starting with, no matter how much time might go into, the smaller monetary changes right now, just know that's all the practice that you're going to need in order to manage what's going to happen down here. You will need it later. You need that risk management when you come down to these areas. Okay, let's go 6 years in advance. You're now making $200,000 a year. Your strategy hasn't changed. And so this can get crazy with modest inputs. Just have to put the effort into setting yourself up right. That's why this trade plan setup is so, so important. Because if you don't do it now, one, you're going to create horrible habits and probably, unfortunately, never be able to make it down to these levels down here. But if you do set it up now, trading at those levels becomes second nature. It becomes easy. This becomes less work. It becomes less hassle. It just becomes easier, and the freedom is there. And just be aware that this 10%, per month, even at, this $2,500, portfolio balance, this 10% is super obtainable. You just have to be smart about the trades and just do the proper techniques. Whatever you lay out for yourself, just stick to it, because once you go off the rails, that's when you lose it. And so one exercise that I'd like to do at the end of this, and I would actually like everybody to do, and send me this, message me on Telegram, let me know. I want you to tell me what your actual goals are. And for context, I can tell you my goals. And this can be, and I'll give a few examples. So, other people's goals before, we've had people that just say, I want to buy a house all cash. And so, okay, that's great. I usually try to get people to put some kind of a time limit on that. And so I want to buy a house all cash in 3 years. That's cool. Some people, I want to quit my job in 4 years. That's fine. My personal goal is to retire from my actual job. And yes, I still work full time. My personal goal is to retire from my actual job by the time I am 35. To totally stop working and just being able to do this and actually be more of a, kind of community advocate by that time. That's my goal. I have a monetary goal that puts that into place, but it's an astronomical goal. But at 35, I'm confident I will get there. It's a goal that's realistic. It's a goal that's super ambitious as well. But sticking to that goal and knowing what you're working for will get you there. So think about your goal. Message me and tell me what it is. That's not a joke. I'm not saying that for the video. Send it to me. This is a mentorship group. My goal is to help you guys get there.